Okay, STO Players, welcome to the PvP segment. As promised, this week I will be starting off my free-to-play guide with an engineer in a cruiser to help teach some of the basics of PvP. The ship we will be flying today is the Assault Cruiser, better known to Star Trek fans as the Sovereign class from the Next Generation movies. First off, when you make a ship build for PvP, you gotta know how to describe it. So today I'm set up as a plasma beam-fired wellboat with lots of cross heels. This is just one PvP build. I'm not saying it's the best build or anything, but for a free-to-play ship, this works great. I hope to show many tips on flying as an engineer and how to cross-heel and tank as a cruiser. If you look at the show notes for this week, you will see there's a skill planner link. This is a link to STO Academy. This is a tool that can be used to display example builds. When you open up, you will see everything you need, from gear to reputation bonuses right through to skill spec. I don't want to go into too much detail as to why I set everything up the way it is, but I will look at the main points. So let's check out our gear. Our Sovereign class starship, as I mentioned previously, we are set up as a plasma beam boat. We have 7 beams. What I'm running is the Romulan Mark 12 beams from the reputation system, as they come with a small chance to lower your target's damage resistance in a similar fashion to disruptor weapons, in addition to the regular damage over time plasma debuff. You can run this build with any flavour of energy weapons, however there is a big reason why I've gone with plasma, and I'll come to that shortly. Bear in mind you don't need the exact plasma weapons that I've got from the reputation system, so work with any set of plasma beams that you can get your hands on. But you do have to make sure that the weapons you've got have the appropriate weapon modifiers. You know the abbreviations that often come after weapons descriptions. Normally with very rare purple weapons, they have 3 modifiers. They can be an accuracy modifier, a critical damage modifier, a critical hit modifier, or even a damage modifier. Now, many people have researched what modifiers are best, and as this is a potential area where there can be a disagreement, I'm going to go with the general consensus that your weapons need at least 1 accuracy modifier, and additional accuracy modifiers are even better if you can afford it. The reason behind this, in Star Trek Online your enemies have a defense bonus and you have a weapons accuracy bonus. When accuracy exceeds defense, accuracy is converted to a small amount of critical hit and severity. So I have 6 Romulan plasma beams with accuracy times 2 modifiers. The 7th beam is actually the Romulan experimental beam, and the final slot is the Omega Force plasma torpedo. So that's my weapon loadout. Let's take a look at what else I'm running. For deflector and engine, I'm running 2-part Borg assimilated set that gives me the autonomous regeneration hull healing proc. For warp cores, I don't have to say too much here. They're pretty new, to be honest. I haven't worked out what's best to run yet. I like the cores with +5 maximum auxiliary power, as it's really useful when super buffing your auxiliary dependent heals. For shields, you have 2 options. I've got Resilient Mako Shield Mark 12, or you could have an Elite Fleet Shield if you desire. Next up is devices. I've got a weapons, shields and auxiliary battery, followed by the subspace modulator from the Davidian missions. On the console, starting with the engineering slots, I've got the 0-point energy conduit and the assimilated module from the reputation systems. Now with these 2 consoles, I qualify for 2 separate additional set bonuses. I get the Omega Weapons Amplifier from the Borg console and torpedo to help my weapons power, and I get bonus plasma damage from having 2-part Romulan set, as the beam is included here. Up next is some neutronium armor. It's very useful to have a small resist to everything that can come your way. Now this next console can be a little controversial. It's the Plasmonic Leech console from the current lockbox. It's cheapest to buy this on the exchange. It takes power from your enemy's systems and boosts your power levels. Even though I'm not spec'd into flow capacitors, it's still worth running. If you do not wish to run this console, however, you can always slot a second neutronium or perhaps a SIF hull repair console. Now, I'll do tactical consoles next before the science ones. It's always best to run consoles that provide the maximum bonus to your energy weapons flavor to get the best damage potential so I have 3 plasma infuser consoles on my ship. With regards to the minimum level of gear, in my opinion, Mark 11 rare gear is normally sufficient for PvP. Finally, now we have the science consoles. These are emitter array consoles that improve the magnitude of the shield healing abilities. Although these aren't your standard emitter array, these are the embassy consoles. So if you're in a fleet, you can get these. If not, get the standard emitter array consoles. These are the consoles that grant additional plasma damage, so maybe you can see what's going on here. This build has every item that boosts your plasma damage, so your tactical consoles, partly your science consoles, along with a set bonus from the Romulan gear, all adds up to quite a decent amount of damage for a non-tactical captain. So that's the gear I'm running. Although it's a free-to-play ship, I will admit it's still an expensive build to set up. There's lots of dilithium costs, reputation grinding, but it's often a requirement for most PvP builds, unfortunately. Now we've looked up the ship's equipment, let's progress to the bridge officer layout for this ship. I've got 2 copies of Fired Will, backed up by Power to Weapons 1. This is a beam boat after all. Then Power to Shields 3 with dual reverse shield polarity 1s, along with the engineer's captain abilities such as Rotate Shield Frequency and Miracle Worker make this a formidable tank for a reasonably maneuverable cruiser. We're also not running short on transferable heals that can help you and your allies. We're rolling the popular Auxiliary to Structural Integrity free skill along with Engineering Team 1 with the Reduced Cooldown DOS, following up with hazard emitters on the Science Station. On the shield heal side, we have Transfer Shield Strength 2, and for your allies within 7.5 kilometers, we have Extend Shields 2. And it's not best to leave potentially the most important bridge officer ability to last, but it happens. Tactical Team 1. Distribute your shields and keeps you from exploding. Now, moving on to the skill tree. As you can see, I'm fully spec'd into energy weapons, with also significant investments into power levels and science resists. I'm not going to discuss this too much, so let's move on. For reputation bonuses, I'm going to go for everything that is considered offensive, such as precision for extra crit chance and sensor targeting assault for the placate bonuses on the Romulan reputation. This is so I can get every bonus I can to help me tactically in PvP. Another important thing to invest in is good active space doffs. I'm running 2 shield distribution doffs to regenerate my shields with Brace for Impact, along with 2 maintenance engineers to get my engineering team on a 15-second cooldown, followed with the exocomp to provide extra buffs with my batteries. Quick note on traits, I've mostly space traits. The accurate and elusive traits are one thing PvPers run. With an engineer, the 2 Pacific traits, Grace Under Fire and EPS Manifold, are also highly recommended. So that's all you need to know in terms of spending skill points and gearing up. Next up, I want to teach you some more keybinds. Last week I showed you how to set up a spacebar keybind. So your spacebar activates some abilities and distributes your shields and enlarges your buff indicators. So I'm going to suggest setting up your tray 4 like this. So you're essentially chaining your 2 emergency power 2 abilities, your power to weapons and shields, and also keeping your Fired Will cycling and always firing. This week we're going to use the same method to load the keybinds. We're going to reprogram 9 keys this time. Now remember, keybinds are part of the game, they're built in, we can customize them to send multiple in-game commands. It's all part of the game engine. So if you look at the show notes again under keybinds, you'll see the codes we are about to load. Just like last week, go to the Star Trek Online Live folder, open your binds file, paste these in. They should come up with 9 individual lines. Once you've done this, save and load the file like we did last episode, and also remember to be in space when you do this. So in short, we've just loaded binds that are popular for peeling in PvP and changing power levels with your keys. To start with, let's talk about the healing binds. These are set up to target teammates and then use tray ability powers on them. So let's go to tray 7, and the healing binds are set up to push the first 6 abilities on this tray. I have them in this order here on screen. I have no Extend Shields or Tactical Team here. I have to manually click them, as especially with Extend Shields it tends to extend the wrong target sometimes. So the way this works is Your 1 to 5 keys on your keyboard are now set up to target you and your teammates. For example, if I press the 1 key, it targets myself and uses the heals on myself. If I have a teammate and team member 1 is targeted and healed with the 2 key, if I've got a second team member, he is healed with the 3 key, and so on. The other keys we have changed are the T, Z and C keys. These are now set up to change power levels for this build. I only really need 3 power levels, so the T key puts me in speed power setting, the Z key puts me in attack power setting, and the C key puts me in balanced power setting. I'm going to suggest power levels for each subsystem in the attack and balanced power setting. So for attack, let's run 100 in weapons, 15 in shields, 25 engines, and 60 in auxiliary, so our heals are more powerful in full attack mode. Then for balanced, let's try 15 for weapons and shields, then 70 in engines and 100 in auxiliary. The purpose of this power setting is that you can change to get the greatest magnitude of heal from your auxiliary dependent healing abilities. Finally, there's the X key. Now this has been bound to assist. What this means is it can be pressed to switch to your target's target. For example, if you see an enemy escort shooting a teammate and you press the X key, you instantly target that teammate instead of having to identify who's getting shot and then manually targeting them.